Martin Raxton, Commissioner of District 3. I am so happy to be joined today by Director of Animal Services and Control, Vanessa Francikowski. Vanessa, good morning and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me here today.
So one of the things I always love to do is to learn a little bit more about our leaders here in beautiful Douglas County. So just start off by sharing a little bit about yourself and your background.
Okay, so I'm Vanessa Francikowski. I've been with Douglas County almost 9 years now. My background spans 30 years in veterinary medicine, starting off as a vet tech for Humane Society in Texas, and then working here in Douglas County for a lot of our local vets, and then starting off with the shelter as the resource coordinator in 2018 and working my way up to the director position.
All right, well, welcome, and it is great to work with you and work with your team.
Thank you.
And I know that we would love to share with our residents here some of the great initiatives that you and your organization are supporting as part of animal control and shelter. So growing up, did you think you would get into this role, or did you think you would be involved working with the animals and working in the public sector?
So growing up, loved animals. I've always been around dogs, farm animals, things like that, and I always wanted to be a veterinarian. So my passion was working with animals, and then started volunteering with the Humane Society. Gave me an idea of what it's like for people that don't want animals anymore and the extra attention and love that they need. So delved into that, went into private practice and assisted some of the veterinarians here in Douglas County, and then circled right back to working with municipal shelters and seeing where the greatest need is and bringing a medical aspect to our team as well.
Okay, well that is great, and I think that's very unique that you have that medical perspective and background. And I think that gives you a whole different perspective and more insights into the care and making sure that the animals that come through the doors there have the attention that's needed to ensure that they have a long life ahead of them and the best quality of life. So tell us a little bit of how you pivoted from saying, hey, I want to do veterinarian medicine to actually running and being in charge of not only the animal control shelter, but also the administration that comes along with that.
So it was a seamless effort, so to speak, transitioning from the medical, from veterinary into shelter medicine. It falls along the same line, and it's not too different from human medicine at all. What we did was we just integrated the AVMA rules, the GDA rules, the DEA rules into our ordinary municipal practices. And then you created this medical program that now touches every animal that comes into our building. So whether they're sick, injured, or just in need of a little bit of TLC, we handle that from start to finish now. Okay,
well that's great to know. And one of the things I had the opportunity was to come over this weekend to actually do a tour of the shelter. And in my own thoughts, I was thinking, okay, cats and dogs that come through the doors there, but it was great to learn about some of the other animals that come through and that you are exposed to. So just kind of share with our audience all of the different animals that you come in contact with, you and your staff.
So, and it's actually funny that you speak. The day after you guys did your tour, we ended up getting sheep into our building. So on a daily, we could run into, the day that you guys were there, we had guinea pigs. We get fish. We've gotten snakes, tarantulas, roosters, pretty much anything, peacocks. And then a few weeks ago, we were at Winston Park getting a cow off the ball field. So we deal with pretty much everything under the sun at this point.
Well, I love the facility. I love how it looks and some of the nuances that we have now. And I know it wasn't always like that. And I know that we went through a pretty extensive redo and some overhauls to the building there. So can you share with us just a little bit about some of the enhancements and upgrades to the facility and where it was and where it is now?
Correct. So, and thank you, because without your resolutions and your support, we weren't able to get those renovations done. For the past 2 to 3 years, we'd suffered some loss due to burst pipes and heat issues in the building, temperature controls, ventilation issues. The new enhancements, we have heat trace tape, so that we won't have any more burst pipes when Georgia suffers, you know, these times where it's the great freeze for us. The ventilation, we were having issues where there was too much humidity, which were making our dogs start coughing a lot. Then we had some viruses go around. So the new upgrade, we have a dedicated air system outside that pushes fresh air through. So it smells wonderful, our dogs are healthy. And then we did have some plumbing issues that we wanted to go ahead and correct that just would enhance the services to the building and actually decrease some of the overusage on water and things like that.
Okay. Well, we're glad to partner with you, and I've heard the complaints of the smell of the facility, and haven't had the opportunity to go over and to actually walk through it. I can tell you that has been alleviated.
Yes.
And that brings safety, not only to our residents, but to our staff and to our team.
Absolutely.
And even more importantly, our animals.
Correct.
They have to have a
Correct.
safe environment as well.
Correct.
So thank you for bringing that to our attention, as well as your advisory committee and the board.
Yes.
And I know you work very closely with them. And anything you would like to share in regards to the board and how they've been helpful in overseeing and just helping to give input from the community's perspective to you and your team?
Absolutely. So the Animal Advisory Board is comprised of citizens appointed by the Board of Commissioners and 2 representatives from the city of Douglasville. And these guys have a different perspective on everything. So we actually have animal lovers on that board and some that are animal compassionate but not necessarily own animals. And that gives us a unique perspective because we want to touch every citizen, whether you love animals or not love animals. And their job is to go ahead and listen to the complaints of the citizens and balance that with what's going on with the shelter. And then we bring recommendations to you guys to go ahead and say, okay, we've heard these, we're supportive of it, we've heard the citizens, now let's take some action on it. And we have a wonderful board. They've been with us for years, and they represent every district in this county, and it's great to have them with us.
Well, I think that is certainly great, and one of the things I would love to touch on when we come back from break is to talk about what's going on and what are we hearing, what are some of the issues and opportunities that we're seeing here in Douglas County.
Okay.
I know I get the calls from my particular appointee, and would love to get some ideas and a better perspective that we can share with our community.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so stay tuned. We'll be right back with more District Dialogue with Commissioner Martin Raxton and Director Vanessa Francikowski.
There's numerous reasons why spaying and neutering and being current on vaccines not only helps your household and the health of your pet, but also the community as well. So spaying and neutering prevents unwanted litters. A lot of times everybody wants cute puppies, but again, those puppies grow up to be big dogs. And when you have dogs that have 10 to 12 puppies at a time, you're going to be overrun with animals. Then you're looking at the cost of food and vaccinating, and ultimately it can become a health risk. Animals do suffer some of the similar health risks that we get, such as breast cancer and uterine infections. It also helps with the pet population in the sense that male dogs are less aggressive when they're neutered. Then you look at the zoonotic risks. The more animals that you have, you tend to go ahead and create a problem not only within your own household, but within the community. Unvaccinated animals and litters of puppies, they can have various health issues that actually are zoonotic and spread to the community as well. So it's not just animal related, but it's human related as well. We also do adoption fostering. So our fostering program is where you can go ahead and come to the building, look at a pet and say, I'm not sure if I'm ready for this full-on commitment yet, I want to test it out. And so we provide you the resources, the food, the bedding, the vaccines, everything. And you can take that dog home for as long as you want. And then if it doesn't fit, you can still bring the dog back at no problem. For us, what happens is when you foster or even foster to adopt an animal, it frees up that critical room that we need for an animal that may have been injured or needs some time to decompress or is in transition from being lost while we try to find its owners. So what we like to go ahead and tell potential adopters is this is not an impulse buy. Okay, this is a thought out process. You know, this is lifetime commitment for either you or the life of your pet. So with that comes great responsibility. You know, you want to be able to provide veterinary care, food, stability, and housing. If those are things that may not be stable for you, it may not be a good idea to necessarily adopt a pet, more like foster a pet. But it is a lifetime commitment. Everybody loves a cute fuzzy puppy, you know, right away, but those fuzzy puppies grow up to be adult dogs. So we always try to partner with, you know, adopters and say,
Welcome back to District Dialogue. Today I'm joined by Animal Control's Director, Vanessa Francikowski. So Vanessa, thank you again for giving us some tidbits about your background and your upbringing and the unique skill sets that you bring to this role. Let's talk a little bit about some of the opportunities that we're hearing and facing here, particularly related around animal control. I know I've received calls about dogs being loose, packs of dogs being out in the community roaming, and I'm sure you get those calls quite often as well.
Yes.
So share with us a little bit about some of the concerns, some of the issues that are actually occurring here in Douglas County, and then what we can do as informed citizens to help support the team.
So a lot of the concerns that we're seeing within our department and in this community in general right now are the irresponsible breeding.
Okay.
We have the backyard breeders, not so much puppy mills, but backyard breeders for sure.
Okay.
A lot of them are taking advantage of the loopholes in the state law, which one of the things that will be coming before you and has just recently passed by Governor Kemp is the House Bill 331. So the House Bill 331 actually prohibits the outdoor sales of dogs, cats, and rabbits.
Okay.
And so that is essential for Douglas County. It's essential for any jurisdiction either way. But for Douglas County, this is going to be the base foundation of what we're doing to get rid of the backyard breeders.
Okay.
That is your number one complaint, and that is where 90% of your complaints start from. When you have unwanted pets, they're running the streets, they're breeding, they came from somewhere. And we are targeting these irresponsible breeders because generally that's where the complaints come from.
Okay.
And this is spanning where you have your Walmarts, your flea markets, where there's the origin of where these breeders are selling these animals or giving them away. And then a lot of people think dogs and cats are impulse buys. They're actually an investment, they're not an impulse buy. When you buy a car, it's an investment.
Sure.
It's the same thing with animals, and you want to consider that that animal is going to have a 10 to 12 year lifespan.
Okay.
So in 10 to 12 years, are you going to be prepared to handle all the emergencies, the vet bills, things like that? Impulses are where you're finding your Walmart dogs, your flea market dogs. They don't last. So what happens is you have somebody that found this really cute fluffy dog, 3 months down the road, they don't want it anymore, and they let it loose. And then you have it mating with another dog, and then you have packs of dogs.
Okay.
And this not only becomes a nuisance to the citizens, but it becomes a safety risk because then you have dogs that are not well socialized. They become feral and they attack. Then we have zoonotic risks. So if they have parvo, if they have any kind of zoonotic disease, Giardia, which is a protozoan parasite. It's
Okay.
kind of like your Montezuma's revenge. Can be spread to people.
Okay.
You know, scabies, things like that can be spread to people. So it not only becomes a animal risk, it becomes a public safety risk on multiple fronts. So this year, this is what we're doing with this new House bill, is circling back to tighten up our legislation internally, working with the Board of Commissioners to get everything passed. And then we're actually partnering with planning and zoning, code enforcement, and God, I can't remember. I'm sorry. You're going to have to cut that, Stephen.
That's okay.
It's
Partnering with.
We're partnering with planning and zoning,
Okay.
code enforcement, and occupational tax,
Okay.
along with the Georgia Department of Agriculture.
Okay.
And between all of these entities and agencies, we're actually going to be reducing the unwanted breeders in this county.
Okay, and that's great. And I love the partnership with some of the organizations. And I know also that from time to time you have to call out the Douglas County Sheriff's Office or the City of Douglasville Police. And one of the concerns that I have is the breeding of vicious dogs and dogs that are bred to attack. Can you share a little bit about what that looks like and if you're seeing an increase in vicious dogs that are in Douglas County, and what are we doing to kind of help control that?
We are, and our partnership with DCSO and Douglasville Police Department has never been better. We appreciate everything they do for us and the support that they provide to not only the community but to our department as well. But between them and our department, we are seeing a huge uptick in vicious animals. You're seeing more of the cane corso breeds, the mastiffs, German shepherds, and normally I wouldn't say that those are aggressive dogs. However, when you're just backyard breeding them and you're not breeding for the line or the integrity, which is the temperament of that breed, you're creating problem children. And you're allowing people that have no experience with working dogs and big breed dogs to take them, and then they become overwhelmed and aggressive. We've had several severe attacks in this county this year with bigger breed dogs. And these are happening at public parks. These are happening to my officers. And it just goes back to this irresponsible breeding. And when I have sheriff's deputies and PD officers that are worried because there's this big breed that's attacking people, it's a huge concern for us.
Absolutely, and I'm very concerned when I'm hearing that our staff and our officers are getting attacked. And I know that they have protection, they have covering, but even with that, attacks are occurring and it seems to be becoming more vicious.
They are.
What can we do to kind of support our officers and our first line defense, if you will, with that to ensure that we're not getting hurt or putting our officers in harm's way?
Great. So that's a great question. Right now, we have ballistic vests because it is a public safety, not just for animals, but for people. We do have Axon body cameras that protect both the public and us as well. What we're looking at doing is trying to go before the Board of Commissioners to get legislature that allows us to carry things like pepper spray, baton tasers, possibly pepper ball guns that are just deployable. They are non-lethal means of defense. But oftentimes when we arrive on scene, if they're attacking somebody, the only instrument that we have at this point is a catch pole. And you run the risk of, being on camera beating an animal. We're not trying to do that, but we want to protect the citizen.
Sure.
And then again, to our officers. For us to wear full body gear every time that we deal with an animal, it's a little bit restrictive. But in the event that an officer gets attacked in the field, that response time from fire and EMS, DSCSO, and us to back that officer up, there's minutes before a serious injury or fatality could happen.
Sure.
So we are looking to go ahead and increase possibly having baton tasers and pepper ball sprayers or spray itself just to protect us.
Okay.
I want to make it clear we don't want guns.
Sure.
We're not a gun department, but we do need to defend ourselves.
Okay. Well, I thank you for sharing that. And I think one of the things when we come back off a break is I would love to learn more about the facility and how we can get involved as pet lovers and pet owners. And I think you have a very, very unique way of introducing dogs and cats into the community with those that may be interested in adopting them.
Yes.
So when we come back off a break, let's talk a little bit more about that.
Okay.
And again, stay tuned. We'll have more insights. And again, this is Martin Raxton, County Commissioner, District 3.
Education is number one. That is the goal of all of this, is to go ahead and educate the county in total. We want everybody to be aware of the ordinances. Being aware helps you follow the ordinances, which means that we stay out of your hair. You don't have to deal with us. If you are looking to educate yourself on the ordinances for Douglas County or the City of Douglasville, you can go to municode.com and you can actually go ahead and look for the ordinances, and it'll break it down into the different violations, what you need to do as a responsible pet owner. And those will go ahead and give you the information that you're looking for on the leash laws, the restraints, the proper housing, confinement, and rabies and things like that. We want to go ahead and be advocates and not be seen as the dog catchers. So our biggest need right now at the shelter is that we are at critical capacity. So our critical capacity is also our capacity for care. And so that capacity for care bases how many animals we can take care of in a healthy manner versus the staff. And so if you look at 2024's numbers for the first 2 months, January and February, we brought in about 320 something animals. Then you compare it to 2025, January and February, we're almost at 650. So we've doubled the number of animals that we've brought in. These are animals that are being intook to our building. And so based off those numbers, looking at the full year, it's not going to be a sustainable capacity for care. We're going to exceed the numbers that we can actually give animals care, quality care and compassion versus the numbers that would be sustainable for us. The reason we feel that there's such an uptick and increase in numbers is both economic and social issues. So with inflation going up, we know the cost of eggs is going up. Well, the cost of dog food is going up, cost of veterinary services. It's becoming unaffordable for people to sustain their animals in their household. And so our mission is to go ahead and offset, to subset what we can and support the community in giving them more dog food, vaccines, and services to help keep them in their house.
Welcome back to District Dialogue. And thanks for joining us for our very engaging conversation with our Director of Animal Controls and Shelter, Director Vanessa Francikowski. So again, one of the things as we left off, we were talking about not only protection for the officers, but also for the staff there and also for the team. So in regards to the capacity of the shelter, if you can just share with our audience, what does the capacity look like, and on a day-to-day basis, how many animals would you say that you house there at the shelter here in Douglas County?
So our building, for capacity-wise, is built for about 300 animals,
Okay.
and that is mixed between cats and dogs. We're always going to be outnumbered by cats, and dogs are dwindling at this point. You know,
Okay.
we're trying to get those numbers under control. Generally speaking, we work for capacity for care numbers.
Okay.
So our capacity for care balances how many animals each staff member can take care of within a certain time frame.
Okay.
So generally speaking, one staff member for one animal takes about 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay.
Cleaning, feeding, and going to the next animal. We'd like to have our numbers under 200, and that is in the event that we run into a hoarding case, or we have a quarantine, or in the event that there's a natural disaster that we need to assist another county.
Okay.
So generally we try to keep our numbers pretty low. During the summers we get tested a lot,
Okay.
but generally it's pretty low.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I really enjoyed and I learned more about was if individual residents were thinking about adopting a pet or coming by and socializing with a pet. Tell us a little bit about some of the unique ways that a person can get introduced to a new dog or a new cat, and how you allow them to socialize with them on site, as well as allowing them to take them to their residence.
Yes, so absolutely. So when you walked into our facility, we have those big glass rooms that we call our meet and greet rooms. So a citizen come in and actually can bring their dog with them and want to go ahead and see another dog. And that meet and greet room gives us a snapshot of what life would be like. Are the two dogs going to get along? If they have kids, do the kids get along with the dogs? Does the dog get along with the kids? Gives us just a small snapshot of that. We also have an outside courtyard that people can go outside and run around with the dogs in. We had a huge dedication from the Boy Scouts that built some equipment for us. And so those dogs can play out there, and potential adopters can see what it's like to work with that dog.
Okay.
And then on a larger level, if you're just not quite sure if you really are a good fit with that dog or that dog's a good fit with you, we offer a doggy day out program. So they get a report card. You can
Okay.
take them to Starbucks and get a pup cup. You can take them for a hike at Sweetwater.
Okay.
If you really want to extend that a little bit, we have our Foster to Adopt program.
Okay.
And it's a weekend program. So you can actually rent a dog for a weekend, see how it does overnight, see if you really like it, and then if it works out, fantastic. We'll get it spayed and neutered, goes home with you. If not, no hard feelings, bring it back. Let's try another dog.
Sure.
And that also gives our animals in the building the opportunity to go home with somebody.
Yeah.
So they're not just staying in a kennel for 24 hours a day. They get to have a glimpse of laying on somebody's couch or going on a car ride. So it's a twofold situation for that. And then again, it gives the community more opportunities because we draw in volunteers that way.
Sure.
When you go to Starbucks and you see somebody walking an Adopt Me dog and they ask questions, they now want to come to the building and do the same thing.
Well, that is absolutely amazing. And unfortunately, I have allergies, and I would have loved to have had a dog, but hopefully, maybe eventually I'll outgrow them. And but I would love to come by and even get participate in walking a pet.
Absolutely.
And just sharing that time and doing a little bonding to help them to socialize to ultimately go to their forever home.
Absolutely.
So outside of work and outside of doing the amazing things that you do here for the county, what are some of the things that you like to do just to enjoy, unwind, and relax for yourself?
So right now, my biggest advocate is I'm an Air Force mom now.
Okay.
And so my son
Congratulations.
is just, thank you, my son just graduated from the Air Force.
Awesome.
And so right now it is all about supporting him and learning more about the Air Force.
Okay.
On my other time, I am usually fishing.
Okay.
I am a huge outdoor advocate. I love the peace and quiet, going to Sweetwater, going hiking, things like that, and that centers me. And then, of course, a lot of people go to animals for compassion. I have about 300 that I deal with daily. So if I need some grounding, I just grab a puppy or kitten, and that usually helps me out.
Well, that is amazing. And again, as they say, not only you talk the talk, but you're walking the walk, and we greatly appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate your support.
Absolutely. And if there's anything that we can do or any advice that you give to our residents, what would that be?
The biggest advice that I would give to the residents for Douglas County are to be responsible for your animals, be responsible advocates, advocate for your neighbors. If you see something, say something. And then the biggest thing is to go ahead and remember, animal control and animal services, we're not the enemies. We are here to go ahead and serve you and protect you. We will rub you the wrong way at times because we follow the law, just like the sheriff's office and PD. But overall, our mission is to give a voice to the voiceless and serve the citizens of Douglas County, and that's what we intend to do.
Well, we certainly appreciate you giving that insight to our residents. We appreciate you coming in today and just spending a few minutes here, just even giving us additional education and insights into what it is that you and your team deal with on a day-to-day basis. I look forward to coming back visiting with you and the team there, and we look forward to some of the new legislation that will be proposed and then certainly enforcing that in the community.
Yes, sir.
So thank you again,
Thank
Director
you.
Francikowski.
Thank you very
Greatly
much.
appreciate that. And this will be the end of our segment for the day. Again, this is Commissioner Martin Raxton for District 3. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again in the very near future. Have a great day.